Comic book page rates lower than minimum wage. Sad. Just sad. Coming to paperback and e-readers, Steam Season of the Witch Girl. The aspiring angel takes on a wicked teenage witch in this action-packed all-new Esteem series adventure. Pre-order your copy of Esteem Season of the Witch Girl at Amazon.com and other online booksellers. Better get the cool slow, y'all, cause we're having us a barbecue. I was watching a Just Some Guy video where he was talking about how comic book artist Dustin Nguyen was so upset about the page rates and royalties at Marvel Comics that he's decided to have nothing to do with them at all anymore. Now, comic artist Dustin Nguyen, as Just Some Guy talks about, was so upset that he came on social media saying he wanted nothing else to do with Marvel Comics due to the way they basically treated him as related to their business. Now, according to this video from Just Some Guy, he says that Dustin Nguyen basically was being made to deal with page rates that were so low that they basically come about to be the same amount that someone would make for a day at a part-time job at a place like Walmart, Target, or Burlington Coat Factory. Now, what Marvel is paying artists as related to page rates is egregious these days, and what they pay writers is even worse. What they're paying many comic pros is barely enough money to live on, and even worse, many of these comic pros basically are not able to even be able to profit from their work as related to receiving royalties for their work outside of the United States, and that's due to the archaic business model known as work for hire. Now, over the last 80 years in the publishing business, many professionals go out here and do business under the contract of work for hire, and under a work for hire contract, a writer or an artist is only paid for their work once, and if that work goes out here and makes millions of dollars, they can't profit from any royalties at all because they signed a contract basically signing away all their rights and signing away all their rights to the point where that work becomes the property of the company like Marvel Comics. And since they're doing this work for hire as related to the property of Marvel Comics, they can go out here and merchandise that same image or that same story that creator makes and make millions of dollars on that work, and never have to pay that creator any money at all in terms of royalties at all, because this is what the creator agreed to as related to the standard business of as related to the comic book industry. And when it comes down to the whole model of work for hire, it's one of the things that has stifled creativity and stifled the growth of the comic book industry, because many creators basically, when they see work for hire, see themselves winding up in the poorhouse as related to their labor. Moreover, they see their labor being devalued to the point because when these companies get this art, what they do is they put it on merchandise, and when it comes down to the stories, they adapt them into movies and TV shows and other forms of media like animated programming, and many of those creators don't get any sort of credit or compensation for their work, all because they signed a work for hire contract, and that work for hire contract basically screws that creator over when they start to get in their older age. When these creators start to get in their older age, they can't live off the wealth from their work. No, and when it comes down to this whole business model, this is one of the reasons why comic creators like Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, and Todd McFarlane wound up leaving Marvel Comics. They wound up leaving Marvel Comics because they wanted to go out here and be able to one, own their own intellectual properties and not give their intellectual properties away to a company like Marvel Comics under a work for hire deal and watch them profit at their expense. And two, they wanted to go out here and be able to not only own the rights to their material, but be able to have more creative control, something you're not allowed to have at companies like Marvel, which is what I found when I was talking to Kevin Grievu in a live stream, that you really can't have much control over those characters, and they basically control your character, and this is one of the things that led to people like Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, and Todd McFarlane winding up leaving Marvel Comics and starting Image Comics back in the 90s. They started Image Comics so that they could not only own their characters and control their content, they also wanted to be able to have rights over their own intellectual property and be compensated fairly for that intellectual property. And this is why a lot of creators these days basically are walking away from the big two of Marvel and DC, because there's no financial incentive for them to be at these companies, especially with them being billion-dollar corporations that basically take all your best ideas and profit from them and don't give you any sort of credit or compensation at all. And that's why Dustin Nguyen is upset, and Dustin Nguyen has a right to be upset, because these page rates, as I've found, are extremely egregious to go out here and only pay an artist $75 for a page, or pay a writer $45 a page. No, that's extremely egregious as I see it. It's egregious to pay a creator, again, $75 for art, or pay them, again, $45 for a page of a script, when there's a lot of labor that goes into this. This is something I know from my own experience as a guy who's written comics. A guy who's written comics, I know that it sometimes takes an entire 3 to 4 hours just to write out the panels of a page, get those pages to sequence all together. I mean, it can take 3-4 hours just to do one page and make sure that all the panels have the right details as related to giving the artist instructions in order to make sure all those pages work. This is what I had to do with John Haynes at Death's Door, and I wrote John Haynes at Death's Door as I was writing the prose version. I wrote them side to side, and it was a lot more labor to write a page for a comic than it was for the story as related to the prose edition, and I know how much work goes into that, and it's really egregious as related to that writer to again put them through that, and it's even more egregious to put an artist through that. I mean, this person is working maybe, when it comes down to that art, for 5-6 hours on that page, and to sit there and again pay them pennies on the dollar, that's just egregious. And then even worse, not give that person the royalties. That's even more egregious. I mean, when I was a kid back in the early 90s, it basically was a completely different place. I mean, back then, at least people were getting to $300 again a page, and possibly more for covers. But these days, I'm looking at these page rates, and again, it's just extremely egregious. I mean, $75 for a page. $100. I mean, that's just, I mean, when I think about it, $75. I mean, if you add up the minimum wage at Walmart, if you add up the minimum wage at Target, and you get maybe 4 or 5 hours, I mean, 4 or 5 hours at one of these stores, you are making more money than a comic book writer or a comic book artist. I mean, when it comes down to many of these stores, they have to pay a minimum of $15 an hour. They have to pay $15 an hour for you to go out here and do a job in a place like receiving or stock, opening up boxes, or going out here and walking the floor to open up cabinets at Target so that people can go out here and buy deodorant. I mean, they pay those people $15, $16 an hour, and when you add up the part-time hours for maybe 5 hours, you got $75. You got 4 to 5 hours, and you made $75 working part-time at Target, Burlington, or Walmart, or one of these other stores. And this is what we're paying comic pros? I mean, really, Marvel? This is what we're paying comic pros? This is extremely egregious. I mean, Marvel should be at the higher end of the spectrum. I mean, having a Marvel job should have been a prestigious thing where you're getting the higher page rates. But sadly, nobody's thinking about this, and nobody's thinking about it because this corporation is all about maximizing their profits, while their creators are sitting there working in poverty. And that's why Dustin Nguyen and many creators throw up their hands and walk away. They walk away because they can make more money per page and more money per dollar with crowdfunding by owning their own property, and owning their own property because the big two ain't paying the big dollars. Now, I remember in the 80s and the early 90s, they were paying the big dollars because the big dollars led to big sales. But what we have now in the comic book business are a lot of people who don't want to see the rise of new superstars. And again, what they don't understand is that your efforts to stifle the next superstar creator is basically killing the business to the point where you're only keeping it around just to keep the trademarks alive. But the whole thing is, those superstar creators, what they are is a draw. And superstar creators, what they do is go out here and bring foot traffic to places like comic shops. They get people asking to buy these books at the newsstands and magazine shops and places like Barnes & Noble. Many in the comic book industry don't like the superstar creators like Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld and Todd McFarlane back in the day, but you need someone who can be a bestseller. This is something we understand in the publishing industry. You need best-selling authors to get people into the store. I mean, that's what guys like Tom Clancy and many other writers like Terry McMillan and many other writers who are well known, their job was to get people in the stores, get people excited, get people to look around the store. And you need those people in publishing because 90% of all books fail, and you need that 10% of books to sell. You need that 10% of books to sell, and you need to cultivate superstar creators and develop a following, because that's how you're going to sell your books. And again, this is another problem I'm seeing with, again, the people at Marvel and DC. They don't understand this is a sales business. It's a sales business, and you want to go out here and get eyeballs on your work. You want to get eyeballs on your work and get people coming to the shop. And this is something that, again, shows me how many in comics are their own worst enemy. They're their own worst enemy because they want to go out here and create these fiefdoms where, oh, we don't want superstar creators because we want to get these low page rates. But again, the low page rates are leading to the low sales. The reason why you have low sales is because you have no creators who can go out here and build a buzz or generate any sort of heat. And again, that's why the page rates have just declined to this point. And again, these companies, again, want to go out here and hire people on the cheap, as related to things. And again, that's de-incentivize people from wanting to go be a part of Marvel, because the Marvel label means nothing at this point if you can't build your brand. You can't build your reputation to make more money. And that's why Dustin Nguyen basically, again, wants to walk away from Marvel, because having a Marvel label, it doesn't lead to any sort of improvement to your career. It's not going to open up any doors at this point. Again, you're working for $70 to $75 a page. Again, I paid more than that for the art on the John Haynes at Death Store comic. And I paid even more than that when I go out here and do covers as related to the books in the Isis, Esteem, and John Haynes series. I pay more than that. And again, that's egregious that a small independent publisher that's run out of a bedroom is paying comic artists more than Marvel, a billion-dollar corporation that's a subsidiary of Disney, or DC, that's a subsidiary of Warner Brothers Discovery. It's egregious that a guy, again, who has a publishing business in a bedroom run on a 2012 MacBook Pro is paying people more than a billion-dollar corporation. That's optically embarrassing. It's optically embarrassing that I'm winding up paying artists more, and again, paying artists on time. That's another issue that I've seen. Again, not even paying artists on time, showing respect to these creators for their work. Now, some guy will say, "Oh, these guys should ask for more," and I believe some of them should ask for more. But the whole thing is, it's hard out here because people in this industry don't make it where you can build momentum. No, they don't make it where you can build momentum and learn the craft. And this is why the page rates are low. And again, because the companies don't care at this point. Marvel and DC are run by corporations that don't care about the products. All they care about are the trademarks. And that's another reason why people are walking away, because they just see it as a trademark stamping place where they can go out here and maintain the trademarks by publishing a few books and then use that to go out here and make more comics and make more comics, but make movies and TV shows. That's why they don't really care. But the thing is that these rates are egregious. It's egregious that $1 billion corporation is paying artists less than minimum wage. This is less than minimum wage. Again, I will repeat it once more. You can make more working at Burlington. You can make more working at Target. You can make more working at Walmart. And again, these are minimum wage entry-level jobs. These are minimum wage jobs that kids do for some pocket money, and they're making more than a comic pro, and that shouldn't be the case as related to comics. No, that doesn't even cover the cost of your art supplies. I mean, really think about this overall. This isn't even covering the cost of your art supplies. So this whole situation is an egregious one. It's an egregious one that I just absolutely find to be disgusting. That, again, an artist like Dustin Nguyen can't even get a good page rate for his work, and he's one of the better artists out here, and he can't get a good page rate for his work. I mean, that's really sad that you have Marvel Comics in a place where they can't pay their own people and still not even looking to improve the business. I've talked about this for many years about how we need to, again, improve things so that comic pros can start getting paid. And Jim Shooter tried to help that out, but sadly they fired Jim Shooter as he was trying to get, again, pros health care, trying to, again, get them there. He did get them their art back, and he also was out here trying to get things better for pros, but sadly, things in this industry are so dire. I mean, when you're paying people these type of wages, it's just really egregious that you're paying people, again, only $75 for art and then $45 for a story, for a page of a story. I mean, these page rates are absolutely disgusting. I mean, how do we encourage people to go out here and be able to continue in this business if we don't pay them properly? I mean, how do people have the passion to continue on in this business if they can't get paid? Critical question I want to ask the people who run in Marvel, because the way they are running Marvel Comics is basically going to run Marvel straight into the ground. Now, my first full comic, John Haynes at Death's Door, is available on Lulu.com, and you can pick up a paper copy of John Haynes at Death's Door on Lulu for the same price as the 2022 Kickstarter. And if you want to check out my first digital comic, A Steam No Good Deed, you can pick up that comic from Kindle for 99 cents. And if you want to check out the books of the SJS Direct Universe, you can find those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them at other online booksellers like Draft to Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you want to help me to be able to continue supporting independent comic creators through buying their crowdfunding comics or being able to continue paying artists and having them design covers for the SJS Direct imprint, you can go out here and drop a donation to the Patreon, PayPal, or Cash App by clicking the link in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Coming to paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side. The man who rules the world takes on an agent from the CIA from the Black Boule in this action-packed all-new John Haynes series adventure. Pre-order your copy of John Haynes' A Thorn in My Side at Amazon.com and other online booksellers. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Dark Incubus. The goddess next door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis, Dark Incubus in paperback and e-readers today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.